Of Show It Live here on showittier.com. I'm Field Denny, and joining us very soon live from New York, which is Saturday night, is Jen Rozenbaum and Elizabeth Langford. So they'll be joining us here in just a second. Real quick, I wanted to give a special Show It Tier shout out and a happy birthday to Jill Metler out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jill is a super awesome, not only great photographer, but a really cool person. Her and her husband, Matt, have this great family up in Minnesota, and just wanted to wish her a very, very happy birthday. I met Jill actually at Show It United way back in 2012. And the reason I bring that up, United is changing a little bit this year. It's going to be here in Scottsdale, Arizona at the Fire Sky Resort. It is a gorgeous location. There you go. Look at that picture. October 18th through 20th of this year, Show It United is going to be amazing. You can go to showitunited.com. and see that little yellow button there in the bottom right hand corner. You're going to want to click on that. Click to register. Join us here in Arizona. There are only 45 seats left. Here's some great information on the speakers. We actually even have a schedule up, which if you've been to United before, having a schedule up at this point in the game is huge for us. We wanted to let everybody know what will be going on. You're going to want to show up on Sunday night and come to our amazing beach/pool party here in Scottsdale, Arizona in October. It will be pool weather. If you're coming from the East Coast or way in the Pacific Northwest, that is a big deal because it'll be super nice here. So happy birthday to Jill. And then without further ado, let's bring on our amazing guests, Jen Rozenbaum and Elizabeth Langford. Hi.
Hey, Field! I have to say that I am missing the cool weather in Arizona, but I'm having so much fun here with Jen in her studio. Jen, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having me, and happy birthday, Jill.
Yes, happy birthday to Jill. And Jen and I, speaking of United, we actually met at Show It United. We were just saying, I think about 4 years ago, we met. I took a workshop that Jen and photographer Trevor Daly did together, and it was just an awesome opportunity to get to see how she shoots and then to see everything that has happened to Jen in these past 4 years. Like, your career has just really grown and exploded, and I think it's because you found your voice and you found that specialism really works for you. So if you don't know who Jen is, I'm going to ask you, tell the viewers a little bit about who Jen Rozenbaum is.
Sure. Well, I am a photographer here in New York City. I consider myself a photographer who helps women find their unique femininity and celebrate it shamelessly, which also means that I am a boudoir photographer.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that description. And how long have you been shooting, Jen?
I've been shooting almost about 6 years, a little over 6 years. Yeah.
Okay. And boudoir is the only thing that you shoot?
Yeah, that's it. I started originally with a few small weddings, and I knew right away it was a mistake. And around that same time, another photographer asked me to join her on a boudoir shoot that she had booked. I did. We shot her client and her client's sister. We had a great time. I ran home and said to my husband, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a boudoir photographer. And he said, okay, whatever you want. And I mean, I know it sounds simple, but it really was kind of as simple as that. Yeah. I knew what I wanted, and I was laser focused, and that was it. I went for it.
Right. I think that's great. A lot of photographers shoot a lot of different things, but then a lot find just that one place that you just know, like, this is where I feel right. This is where my talents are best used, which is awesome.
I think sometimes people need to shoot a couple different things in the beginning to know what they resonate with and what feels good to them. But I really, really would love to tell people that when you find that thing, go for it. Even if you have to shoot other things in the beginning to make ends meet or whatnot, stop showing it at least. And really push yourself to where you want to be. It can happen. I mean, everybody said no to me in the beginning. You can't make a living on just boudoir. Who would take their clothes? How many women are going to take their clothes off for you? That's crazy. But I didn't listen to them. I just kind of went forward, and here I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many sessions a week do you typically shoot?
Well, if you had asked me that a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd have different answers every single year. As of right now, I am looking for 4 to 5 clients a month. That is my happy place. I find 1 client a week to 2 clients a week allows me to service them the way I need to, gives them the attention, gives me the turnaround time. Plus, I get to be home at 3 o'clock every day for my kids. Okay. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you get to be both photographer and mom.
Yes.
So, and we have to be out of here by a certain time so she can actually get to the bus stop.
Exactly.
But, and juggling that can be really hard, but I think that's probably where finding your voice and having a specialty really helps, because you just run everything down that one sort of narrow focus.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning when I took so many more clients, I would take 300 clients. In my third year, I took 300 clients in 1 year. It was ridiculous. Lesson learned, don't do that, you guys. But the truth is that there is a balance, and I don't feel bad necessarily when I leave my kids to go teach, or if I go do a shoot, or if I miss, unfortunately, a school activity or whatnot, because I'm doing something that I love and is so important to me. So it sort of allows for that work-life imbalance, I like to call it, because I really don't think there's such a thing as full balance, but I know when I'm here fully and 100%. And with my kids, I'm 100% with them. So in the moment, I feel balanced, even though life may not always be.
Yeah. Life is always sort of teeter-tottering.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about ways that you do find that balance. Do you outsource things in your business?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, my business is just me. In fact, I was actually talking to Mary Morantz the other day, and I was like, "You're so lucky you have Justin. I don't understand. It's so hard to do things on your own."
Right.
But I'm really not on my own. That's really the truth, because I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, I have some, editing, and I'm working with Shoot.edit to come up with some editing that will really tailor more towards boudoir to help other boudoir photographers too.
So
I'm doing
all of them.
Yeah, they're great. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to give them all my editing. But exactly. But yeah, those things that are really time consuming and are not helping me move forward in my business necessarily, I outsource. That's really what my criteria is.
Okay.
If it's something like social media, blog writing, any of that, I do that all myself. I feel, especially if you're a specialist,
right.
it's kind of a hard thing to say, especially if you're a specialist, your voice really needs to be truly your own, and you need to really sing your message loud and clear from your heart. So for me, I don't outsource any of that stuff. If you see me tweet or post or Instagram or whatever, it's all coming from me directly. So it's like sort of the more mundane work I give to everybody else, and then everything that means something, the picture taking, the blogging, all of that comes from me.
The things that are very personal, and you have a very specific why as to why you do this. Can you share that with us?
Sure. If you follow me on social media, you see me talk a lot about shamelessly feminine, #shamelessly feminine. And really what it is about women celebrating their unique femininity, whatever that might be. It might be Converse sneakers and a bra. It might be combat boots and a leather jacket. Whatever it is, however they want to express it, this is a place that doesn't hold any judgment, or it's a comfortable place for them really to become who they truly are, versus more of a fantasy situation where they're coming here to be somebody they're not. They're really coming here to drop their guard, take off their clothes, take their inhibitions with the clothes, and just kind of be who they are, and we celebrate that.
Okay, that's awesome. And you had used the phrase like a photo therapist?
Yes.
What was that again?
Yes. So I really consider myself a photo therapist, even though I am a photographer. The photography is really second for me. The real reason why I do what I do is the emotional connection, the healing from the women. They heal me, I heal them, for whatever it might be. It might be a breakup, it might be weight loss, weight gain, it might be a divorce, it might be a good thing, a 40th birthday, whatever it might be. They help me accept myself, and I help them accept themselves. And so a photography therapist is what I call myself. Again, it's emotional first, photography second.
Right. So that connection is
all about the connection. Like, people ask me if I shoot couples and maternity. I'm like, no, that ruins my whole jive, because the second I'm a couple, it's about the two of them, and I'm just taking pictures.
Okay.
And nothing wrong with it for everybody out there that does it. Nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't fulfill me. And if I'm going to leave my children and I'm going to, take a day away from all the other things I have to do in the world, it better be something that I feel really passionate about. So even maternity, it kind of becomes about the baby, and I'm like, no baby, just you and me in a room, and we're going to work together.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think that really is something that you've been able to develop, because you know who you are, you know what your why is, and everything kind of gets run through that filter.
Yeah. People ask me often too, things like marketing questions, or how do I find my client, or how do I market my business? When you really truly know your why, it allows you to make better decisions in your business as far as where you want to advertise, who you want to advertise to, how you advertise. Is something worth it? I do a lot of teaching, and I travel the country, and I also make decisions. Is this going towards my goal or away from my goal? Is this going to help me reach women or not reach women? And so the decision making becomes a lot more clear once you know your why.
Right. Now, it sounds like that realization that boudoir was your happy place kind of came quickly after shooting a couple of weddings. But what was the process like of actually determining what your why was? And that had to be a real feet to the fire process.
That was a much more torturous process. Finding what I wanted to do is easy. Finding out why is so hard. And I try to work with other photographers too to help them find the why. And it's hard. It's a really hard thing to do. I think that the problem is it has nothing to do with your business. It has nothing to do with photography. It's a matter of self-discovery. And so I had to really turn around and look in deep as to what about it made me feel certain ways and why that helped me. And the truth is, for me, I have a lot of body issues. I'm just like every other woman in the world. I have certain insecurities. I've struggled with what femininity means as a mother and a wife and as an almost 40-year-old. My birthday's August 4th if you want to wish me a happy birthday. It's my 40th birthday.
Yeah. Oh, we need to have a big party.
I know.
Wait, did you say you're turning 30? Is that
40.
30? Yeah, 30. That's awesome.
Right, exactly. It's the new 30. That's what I'm told.
So I actually had a couple questions. One, Jonathan and Solis. I don't know. That's awesome. That's a great name. But I wanted to know like where you start. But before you get all that, you mentioned earlier like how you only display what you want to shoot. And so I was looking at your website. And so this is a personal question. I was looking at your website and at your About Me section. And you said something about being superstitious. Are you wearing a good luck charm right now?
I always have a good luck charm. In fact, right now I have a hamsa on this wrist.
All right.
I have my red string on this wrist, and I have a hamsa on this wrist, plus my kids' initials, so they're always with me. Those are my good luck charms.
I have no idea what a hamsa is. What is that?
A hamsa is it's a Middle Eastern symbol to keep away the evil eye.
There you go. Right on. Yeah. So if somebody was just getting started in this, as far as being a specialist, especially in boudoir, I feel like that's one that people have a very strong opinion about one way or the other, right? So and that's your clients are going to have a very strong opinion about it one way or the other. Like, what would you suggest would be like the best place to start in saying, you know what, I'm going to specialize in boudoir? What is step one in your opinion?
Oh, good question. It's actually kind of a broad question. I think that for me, step one was really reaching out to women and shooting them and finding evangelists for my business and people that would share the photos and what a great experience it was so that it attracted more women to me. Because truthfully, you need to have, I believe, a client base before you can really discover why you're shooting something. Your clients will give you those answers. And when I say clients, I don't necessarily mean that they have to be paid clients. It could be just women that are attracted to you in the beginning that want you to shoot them so you can get some practice. To talk to them, understand, why are you doing this? What does it mean to you? What was your experience like? Did anything happen after your experience? I mean, I've had women come to me and tell me they've broken up with boyfriends, they've gotten out of jobs that they didn't like, they didn't treat them well, that they've lost weight, that they've gained weight because they didn't care anymore about being so skinny and perfect. So really to have that honest communication with the women that they work with as to why. And the beauty of boudoir is that there are so many different reasons to work with women. I mean, if you go and you say, well, I'm doing this to empower women, snooze, because everybody says that. Really find the reason. Maybe it's to awaken a woman's sexuality. Maybe it's for a woman to find her femininity after motherhood. I mean, you can get really, really specific without being afraid that you're narrowing yourself so much that you won't book clients. The more specific you get, the better.
It's hard to feel beautiful when like a child is just thrown up on you.
Yes.
Right? My time of the day was like me holding my camera and like my daughter had just gotten to, like the one time only ever. I was like, I do not feel pretty right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Especially I really, it resonates with me. Like I said, turning 40, it's a big year. It's like, okay, my kids are a little bit older. They don't need me the same way. How do I rediscover myself as a woman at 40 years old? Society says a lot of things about 40. You're old, you're over the hill, it's downhill from here, all of that. So to sort of fight against that. So I'm probably going to do a boudoir shoot of my own for my 40th birthday to celebrate. So I understand what women feel like. Do
you have the photographer picked out who's going to shoot your boudoir session?
Top secret.
Top secret. That's I understand. And a really good point to all this is obviously you're a woman shooting other women and all of that. How do you advise a guy to get into this? If this is just what they enjoy doing, how do you advise like a guy the first step for that? 'Cause I feel like that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now I'm going to tell you. My friend Mike is shooting me. So I am having a guy shoot me for my 40th birthday. And I do believe that there is definitely a market for men shooting boudoir. The thing is that men have that I will never have is they see women in the eye of men. And I cannot do that no matter how hard I try. I always kind of tell the story when I try on a new bathing suit and I say to my husband, oh, I don't know. Is it okay? Can you see all my cellulite? And he goes, you don't have cellulite. I'm like, do you need glasses? Do you know what cellulite is? He doesn't see it. And that's the beauty of when men look at women. They don't go for all the bad things. They go for all the good things. Women tend to be judgmental of other women. So some women really don't want to be shot by another woman. They want to be shot by a man. And there's a market for that. I just talked about that on my blog, actually. I talked about the title of the blog is All Men Are Perverts, which is meant to be sarcastic. So nobody write me any hate mail. Just read the post and you'll see. But unfortunately, society sort of says, well, any guy that wants to do that is clearly a pervert. And so men do have more challenges than we do as women, but is it possible? 1,000% it's possible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and then some other questions have come up, fun ones, like what's your, what lenses do you use to shoot boudoir, that kind of stuff? So,
sure. Well, I use all Sigma lenses. And the lens I use probably 75% of the time is my 50mm art. Number one, because like the fanciest, most awesome lens in the entire world, and it's sharp and it's beautiful and I love it. It's reliable. But number two, you guys will see when we do a tour on Periscope that this is a teeny tiny studio, and I really don't have room to shoot with something like an 85 or 70-200, which I would prefer for portraits, but I just can't. So the 50 is on my lens probably 75% of the time that I'm here.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, good questions out there. And yeah, you mentioned something huge. You guys are going to be periscoping after the show and doing like an awesome little tour of the studio. So guys, get really excited for that. You can follow it, the Periscope. I don't know if you guys decided, will either be on Show It, which is really easy to spell, or it'll be on Jen Rozenbaum's Periscope, which may be the first Periscope ever on Jen. So I'm not saying she's late to you're not late to the game on that. It just may be your first Periscope ever.
She's just been busy, but yes, we're going to Periscope at Show It. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to check out Jen's studio after the show. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the space now. How long have you been in this space, Jen?
I've been here in November will be 4 years.
Okay.
Long years. Yeah.
Okay, four long years. And so tell us what it's like to shoot in the same space over and over again.
So we were actually just talking about this a little bit before the show. I had posted on Facebook that I was considering moving or changing my space, because I think the truth is when you're in one space for so long as I've been here, you get really comfortable and you can kind of do it without thinking. Not that I don't get amazing photos here. I do, because I know every inch of the studio. But I find that when I shoot on location, sometimes it's even more of a challenge. I have to think more, and I'm much more present in my picture taking. So I'm seeing a trend that I really like the pictures that I take on location. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm definitely going to be here until at least October. Okay. But I'm thinking about either changing studios, or I've thought of this little challenge for myself. I'm really all about challenges. I challenge myself a lot. So one of the challenges I thought of was maybe just dumping my studio and just finding places to shoot all through the year. Number one, to prove to boudoir photographers you don't have to have a studio to be successful. And number two, to challenge myself and get really different images and push myself creatively. So I don't know. I haven't made the decision yet. I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about it. Tell me what to do, guys. Help me.
Well, I think that's definitely one of those things that people think is, oh, to do boudoir photography, I need a studio. And not only boudoir photography, just any type of portraiture work, people think, oh, I have to get into a studio. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that studios can be great. I mean, there's no better way to have a very consistent look to all of your images, because you get to control the light pretty much all the time. So, I mean, I think that that's huge, but I don't think it's necessary, especially you're getting so good now with lights that can travel and folding up into tiny little spaces and all of that. But I think that's huge.
I think the studio provides security. Like a client can call me tomorrow and be like, I need to shoot this week. I'm like, no problem. And so it's that security that makes me a little bit nervous of, okay, well, what if I want to book someone and then I have to find a place? How is that going to work out for me? How's that going to play out? But again, I don't know. I think as a photographer and an artist, you have to challenge yourself. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
And that doesn't change your voice.
No.
It just
Changes
puts a little
my
spin on
place.
it.
That's all. Just
Yeah.
changes where I am. In fact, it might even emphasize my voice a little bit more, because when I really talk about shamelessly feminine, for me, it's about really showing the woman maybe more so in her environment, or you know, I don't really know. I'm not going to know until I know.
Yeah, you gotta get out there and do it.
Yeah, but it could even increase the way I show my voice with women than it's here. I don't know. We'll see.
So can you tell us a little bit about technically how you shoot? Do you shoot mostly with natural light, beautiful light coming in through this big window into the studio right now? Do you use off camera? Do you use a mix?
Sure, I do use a mix.
Okay.
A lot of what I do, especially in the beginning when I first moved here, I just was like obsessed with this gorgeous light in here. So
all these white walls.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an ugly building and it's a small studio, but the light can't be replaced. You know, so that's what I saw first. But you'll see. They probably can't see, but you can see behind me. I have a bunch of Westcott lights. I shoot with like the Skylux and the TD6s for a more natural light look. If it's a really, really dark day, I'll kind of use those
in the
to
winter.
give me, I'll use those to give me a little bit of fill. And I use ProPhoto strobes, so I do that. And right now, I'm trying to really challenge myself to do half of my shooting in natural light and half of it with artificial light.
Okay, that's awesome. So you have a nice blend.
Yeah.
And I think that that's awesome. And once again, you'll be able to kind of show people more of that on the Periscope afterwards. But another question that kind of came up going back to finding your voice and all of that is when people are asking themselves those questions, like trying to figure out their why and trying to decide, should I be, you know, a portrait photographer or a boudoir photographer or wedding photographer? Like what was a great question that you wound up asking yourself over and over again? Like, what is your voice? If you're not sure, like, what's that one, what are some of those questions? Like, who am I and what do I love to do and what should be my voice?
It wasn't so much a question I asked myself. I would ask my clients a lot of questions about what it meant to them, why they did a shoot, why they chose me, what they found appealing about it. And even now, as I blog and I really get my message out, women will write to me right off the bat, your message really spoke to me. This is my story. And they start right off the bat because they see my videos and they see my blogs and they start talking to me. In the beginning, it was more about how I felt when I shot something. It was that connection. And it wasn't just about the moment with the woman. It was like, I couldn't wait to see the pictures. I couldn't wait to deliver them to her. Where I would shoot a wedding and it was a chore to get through. It was painful. So how are you feeling physically when you're doing something? You know, a friend of mine recently shot something that she didn't want to do anymore. And I said to her, there's only one thing worse than shooting something you don't love, and that's editing something you don't love.
So true.
Right? It's so true.
Really
so I mean, it's really true. And if you're finding those like moments where you're just pushing it off and procrastinating, I mean, I can't wait to get that card in the slot every single time I shoot boudoir. So, you know, how do you feel when you shoot something? I think that that's a better question than what do you need to ask yourself?
I think that that's perfect. And then the only thing worse than that is having to do it all over again, right? It's like, no, I already decided. Like me, I'm not a newborn guy. I'm just throwing it out there. I think that some newborn pictures are great, but even more than not being newborn, I'm not a maternity guy. Like you ask a maternity session, I'm like, I don't even want to see the images when I'm done. Like, I think that it's beautiful in process and I have 3 kids and that's all well and good, but like maternity photos, no, thank you. Like, at no part of it.
I hate pictures of kids. Yeah, like I take pictures of my kids. I hire a photographer once or twice a year to shout my kids, photograph my kids.
It's the best term ever for families.
Right.
I shoot families.
Right. It's the only way you can get away with it. But I don't enjoy it, even though they're my children and I love them. It stresses me out. And every time I look at the images, I think, oh God, why didn't they just sit still? Or why?
Right.
You know, where now I can hang them on my wall and go, look how beautiful they are. They're so great because I didn't have to do any of the work. So.
And there are photographers out there that love that.
Right.
I think that's the beauty of specialism, is finding the thing that you love, and then when you need something else, finding the people that love that, or being able to refer someone.
Yes.
You know, we have a great newborn photographer in Phoenix named Courtney Talbot. She's a show tier, and so anytime any of my brides get pregnant, I'm like, you need to go see Courtney, or Elisa McCormick is fantastic too. You need to go see Elisa, and it's so good to know like those women love babies. And I love these too, but I do not want to photograph them.
No. And the other beauty of specialism is really not worrying about competition. And I'm not saying I never worry about competition, because I'm still a business person and I'm not stupid. I still kind of keep my ear to the ground about things. But the truth is that I'm not really worried that anybody's going to steal my stuff or take my voice or anything like that. I mean, if you go to my blog, you see me talk about tons of things and barely ever photography. So, nobody could really do that. They can't steal that from me. They can't compete with that. I am who I am and I'm unique. And that really helps me also in that way. So it kind of lets me just concentrate on my business, my vision, and the women that I work with.
So it was worth it to go through the whole, sorry, Bill, it was worth it to go through what you previously described as like a torturous experience about your why and your voice and really live by that.
It is worth it, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not done with it yet. I don't think you're ever done. I don't think you're ever like, okay, I got it. I figured
like a
myself
lifelong
out.
learner. You just keep going.
I see even with my kids, my daughter's going to be 10 and my son's going to be 6, how much everything changes all the time. How sometimes you have to be more present for them than others. How my life has changed because of it. And what a different woman I am at 40 than I was at 30. So I can only imagine that, at 45, at 50, that my voice will still continue to change. Yeah, it's an evolution. We're always growing. And that's why, people, I think sometimes when I speak and I give workshops, people are like, oh, she has it all figured out. And I stand up there and go, no, I don't have it figured out. I just haven't figured it out. But tomorrow's a new day, So
I made it here today and we're going to call that good.
That's right. Exactly. Tomorrow's a new day.
So that would kind of be like the third step, right? Figuring out what you want to do, figuring out why, and then kind of evolving that, and continuing on with that process. I always like to, ask children what they want to be when they grow up, because I'm looking for ideas. But it's the same thing. Like, I'm always trying to figure out, like, what's next? What am I evolving into? Like, so it's figuring out what you want to do, figuring out why you want to do it, and then, sharing out kind of who you are. That's the specialism part, right? It's, all right, I'm Jen Rozenbaum. I'm a boudoir photographer, but more importantly, I'm Jen Rozenbaum. Like, you can do what I do, but you can't be who I am. And so sharing out those pieces of the process with people, and then your blog and on your site and all of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something I probably have never really said out loud before, forget to an audience, which makes me a little nervous, but I'm not really even sure that photography is the end of the road for me. There's some other things that I have visions of that I want to do in helping women. I'm not really sure having a camera in my hand is always the way I'm going to do it. I have a mission. Right now, I use my camera to fulfill the mission, but it might not always be true.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So we'll see.
I love that. I was reading through your blog and I was thinking it's hard as a boudoir photographer because not every client is going to want their images up there. But like you said, you don't talk a lot about photography on your blog. You talk a lot about being shamelessly feminine and sort of getting this mission across. For those that are watching that are trying to figure out, well, how can I use my blog then if I'm shooting boudoir and not all of my clients are going to allow me to use the images? Can you kind of share how you've done that? You get your voice across, but you don't need an image to do it.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't show an image on purpose because I feel like when I shared my story of how I got into photography, I didn't share any images at all on purpose because I felt that it wasn't about the image at all. It was just about the experience and the story, and I almost felt it would be disrespectful to the post to sort of override it with images. Yeah, which is strange as a photographer, but that's really how I felt about it. Listen, things happen to me every day. Raising a daughter, living in this world, traveling, meeting people, and I just write about my experiences with life and how I'm feeling and the struggles I go through as a photographer and a creative, and the ups and the downs and the dips that I feel, and the my experience. I was on the Dr. Drew show recently, and that's where they started really attacking this guy, saying he was a pervert, and I was so offended for all of the men of the world, so that I chose to blog about that. There's so many things that happen every day in the news, on Facebook, wherever, that tie into my mission and I have opinions about that affect women. And so that's really what I talk about. When something strikes me, I sit down and I write the blog. This is not like where I'm like, okay, I have to blog every Tuesday because SEO is good at that time or whatever. It's not how it feels for me. I know I should blog more, but I don't like blogging inspiration, true inspiration behind it. So when something happens, it's like, everybody get away from me. I'm going to blog about something. I'm feeling it right now. And it always seems to somehow be relevant to something going on. And people will say to me, thank God you said that right now because I'm feeling the same way.
I don't know how to say it. Though.
Exactly. So thank you for speaking for me, kind of thing. Yeah. So I just blog as it comes to me.
What was that experience like being on the Dr. Drew show and sort of being the one person that was, fighting for the other side?
I would assume it's very similar to this experience.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean,
I think so.
this is pretty much the other version.
Love and fuzzy.
Right. Well, first of all, I've had a very big crush on Dr. Drew for a very long time. So when you get a phone call like Dr. Drew wants you on a show, you don't say no. I knew that I was going up against the fire. You know that going in, because this is the kind of experience. They don't tell you that, but if you watch TV, you know that that's what's going to happen. But I really didn't care because I was so passionate about what I felt. But it happened so fast. Like there were some things I wish I had said. I wish I had asked them, if that instructor was female, would you feel the same way? When you go back, and you guys can watch it, it's on my blog. But if, there's things that you want to say and it happens so fast. But, this is the other thing. When you really feel strongly about something, you don't waver in the moment. Even when 3 or 4 people are going up against you, you're like, no, sorry, I don't see it that way. It's very simple. So it was fun, though. It was a good experience.
That's awesome. Something to check off the bucket list.
Exactly.
On the show with Dr. Drew. That's very cool. Are there any questions up in the chat field? We can actually.
Yeah, so there's a really good question. It's from, was it Summer? No, who asked the question? Priscilla, Summer? I can't see it anymore. But it was basically, it was Terry Couch. Said, Jen, you use very few props. Are you ever tempted to just pick something up on a whim and to put it in the shoot? And she said it's very difficult for her. I know that lots of people are like, ooh, this would be great in the shoot. I'm going to buy it. And then, do you have those same temptations?
No, I don't really buy anything ever anymore for my studio. First of all, now that I'm in my 6th year of business, I really learned that the only way to make money is stop spending money.
Yes.
So
that's real life right there. # marriage.
Right. So no, I can't tell you the last time I bought something for the studio. I mean, in the studio, I have a bed, and that's pretty much it. We have the couch we're sitting on. I never use it for shooting. The girls use it to lay their clothes on. And that's really it. I'm really about very simple images. I mean, when I go around and I teach posing and I teach communication, it's really about the woman. So if you look through my images, you'll notice most of them are not environmental at all. It's just a woman against a blank wall or against a window or something really, really simplistic. I always try to put some sort of linear element in an image, so it kind of plays off of a woman's curves. But this is why I always emphasize that posing is so important, because I don't take environmental photos necessarily. It's just about her. And if she's not looking interesting, the whole photo is going to fall flat.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that, being a business person, you have to stop spending money so you can make money. A penny saved is a penny earned. It's doubling your business.
So you shouldn't spend any money, but spend it wisely. Spend it on occasion. Spend it in the places that I know I needed a bed. There was no option about that. For me, I needed a bed. I spent it on my studio. I spent it on, the good equipment. I mean, I don't buy crap equipment anymore. I know some people will buy like sort of okay lights from Amazon, and then you're gonna have to buy the real thing anyway. So if you're going to spend the money, make sure you're spending it in the right place. I shouldn't say don't spend any money, like buy my book, but not kidding. But invest it wisely. Really think about it, and put your blinders on. Like, just because the photographer down the street has a blue backdrop, you need a blue backdrop. In fact, you probably shouldn't have the blue backdrop because she has it. And I just see a lot of that. Like, a couch is not going to make you a better photographer. A nice backdrop isn't going to make you a better photographer. There's other, more important things that you need. And then if you find, okay, I want to create a different look and I need a backdrop or I need a couch, fine. But that's not going to change your photography.
Yeah.
What's here in the studio is really very simple. But you can see she's got some pictures that are sitting off to the side. And I'm like, that is just a gorgeous image. And it's just a woman on a wall. But it's all about the way that you've posed her and that you've been very intentional with that. And you just recently did a webinar, right, with Shoot.edit, all about posing. And I think you can go to Shoot.edit and find that, and they'll actually send it to you for free. Yeah, you can download and listen to that. And lots of great educational resources. You've been on Creative Live. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like?
Oh, it's like giving birth to 2 babies at the same time.
So it's like having twins.
No, at the same time. Not one right after the other at the same time. No, it was an amazing experience. I did it 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago now. I did a 3-day, and then I was on for about 3 hours in the middle, and then I did a boot camp. And the boot camp was incredible. They came here. We did a bunch of taping here. I taped a bunch in Seattle, and we went live for a little while, and then it played for almost a month. So it was an exhausting experience, but I have to tell you, it was amazing. And people tell me all the time how great it was for them, and that was really the intention. So, my mission is to help women, and so my teaching other photographers how to do what I do, it helps me exponentially, because I can only reach 50 women a year, but if I could reach 3,000 photographers a year that can help 50 women a year, now we're talking, you know? So it's really about the women. And so this is what I'm talking about when I say, when Creative Life comes to you, go, should I do it? Should I not do it? Yeah, I'm gonna do it, because I'm gonna help more women this way.
Right, yeah, you're empowering other women to help other women, and that just sort of exponentially grows. And that's where education is, you know, it's just at your fingertips now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's great to be able to go to workshops and be in person at events, but you also have the opportunity to learn online and really gain great perspective and knowledge, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I
I'm so
agree
glad
with
you
you.
did that. Thanks.
So a couple more questions. Justin Brown wanted to know what if you shoot for fun, and if so, like what do you shoot? Like outside of the boudoir profession, what else do you shoot? Like for giggles?
I shoot boudoir for fun.
Yeah, that's what you do. Like when you're not working.
I shoot boudoir.
Yeah, perfect.
No, I actually took a couple of pictures at my daughter's softball game and my son's baseball game this year, and I still have not looked at the pictures. It's been about 3 months.
Yeah.
I really don't like shooting anything. I know it's gonna sound crazy. I like to shoot boudoir. So recently I saw a lot of people doing different milk baths. So I had fun. I took a girl and we made this sort of turquoise crazy milk bath, and we had a little fun with that. And I used gel lights. I used a whole bunch of stuff I'd never done before just to challenge myself. And it was a good time. It was fun. And that's what makes me happy. So why would I want to shoot anything?
Well, and that's a great opportunity, though, sort of on your time, you're going to try these things and shoot with things that you haven't, to maybe see if you want to incorporate that into your clients' sessions later.
Yeah, I mean, the
opposed to
truth
testing
is,
out.
100%. I mean, the truth is my clients trust me and my vision, but I'm always listening to them. You know, if somebody comes to me for a shoot and they want something romantic or edgy or whatever it might be, I fulfill their vision. When I shoot boudoir for fun, it's my vision. And I do see a difference. It's a completely different thing. And taking that pressure off of having to make money is also really fun.
So we have time for
Allows you to get outside.
Sorry, we have time for one more question. This is from Danielle. When you're shooting away from your studio, like at their home or anything, what are you looking for visually in the shoot to incorporate in the shoot?
That's a really good question. I actually never really shoot at clients' homes, mostly because this is New York and it's about, their houses are usually as big as this couch. So it doesn't typically work out. When I look for other locations, or like other studios or hotel rooms or Airbnbs, what I'm looking for is not only a certain type of space as far as window light or not window light, depending on the look I'm going for, but I'm looking for variation. So for example, I shot fairly recently at the White Hotel in Brooklyn. I shot in a very, very, very small room. But on one side of the room was a beautiful wallpaper, very simple, clean. On the other side of the room was a brick wall, and they had a beautiful bathroom, and they had a concrete floor. And I thought to myself, okay, these are 4 locations that I can shoot even in this small room and get a variation of looks without having to change too much. So for me, that was a successful find, because it was just, you know, a lot of stuff without being overwhelming. Exactly. I also shot an Airbnb in Brooklyn recently, and it was almost overwhelming. There was so much stuff that I, you know, as an artist, sometimes you're like, I don't know where to go first here. So for me, simplicity is the key, but variation is a good idea also.
Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us all the way from New York City. And your awesome studio. And for those of you guys out there, you can get a nice little tour of Jen's studio on Periscope if you follow @ShowIt on Periscope. You guys will be doing that right after the show here. But thank you very much, Jen, for joining us. Absolutely wonderful having you on, and a pleasure. And thanks for sharing your message on specialism. It's something that we believe in pretty strongly here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Well, join us next week. We're going to have a special live in studio guest here in our studio, not in Jen's studio, in our studio. But join us next week, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on showithere.com. All right, guys. Thank you.